a good matchup because it's quite often the case that now they do try and find that R5. They're gonna have to get rid of something like the Galio as well. I feel like Solary. Otherwise, it's gonna be an easy blind pick Forsaken to take. We've seen him take it multiple times, even if the matchup's bad. Scarlet, not necessarily one of the stronger in laners that we've seen in the tournament. This is one that they can potentially abuse as well. They have to take that mid lane off the table.
I think that for Karmine Corp as well, this is a very real chance for them to opt into something like the LeBlanc that we've seen really start to return just this week specific or today specifically. Saken was a very big proponent of the LeBlanc if they wanted to
Yeah.
go for something potentially weak-sided or a blind pick for Cabo Shot. Okay, well, you know what, Solary recognise that as well. The LeBlanc gets taken away. And now your question becomes, what do they default back to? Previously in spring, we'd see things like the Rise, like the Galio that you've already alluded to come on through. Galio Jarvan, a very good 2v2, you know, the very good setup. You get Cataclysm down on one side, you get the Hero's Entrance in from the other. It is a combo that works very nicely. But that mid lane blind pick of choice is going to be the Victor, so it is setting up once again for just really good team fighting. And Saken has been a very adept team fighter pretty much throughout the split, throughout his sort of tenure here through the European scene.
Yeah, it's a new champion Forsaken. This split, he's actually played a champion. He's played a new champion every game, continuing that trend with the Victor. We've not seen him play it this split thus far. I like it. I feel like it adds a little bit of control here. Not many answers that I think are particularly potent in response. Obviously, the Ari going to be picked up by Scarlet, champion that we see him default back to quite often. Sort of known for playing it quite often in this. And now we're going to have to see the top blind. I believe it's going to be something like a Scion, something like a Gnar. And in response, Cabochard has a few options here for his R5 that he so famously gets.
Irelia, Jace, Yasuo, just to name a few. I honestly think the Jace could be like something that we do see. It feels like that's something that goes fairly well into the Gnar. They also have a couple of other options that we may want to play a little bit safer.
Yes.
Did my prep. There we go.
Yeah, lovely. Wonderful to see Cabochard on this Aurelia. He's very, very proficient at the champion. Kyo looked slightly weaker in a lot of these games. Obviously pulled out a Gwen in his last victory, but wasn't really a major factor within that game either. And had quite a sloppy laning phase, been kind of quite taken out sometimes, especially up against Zugenda. Cabochard, another very, very, very strong top laner, especially in that laning phase. He's gonna have a real task in this game in terms of standing up to the titan that is Cabochard, is Kyo. I think look towards this top lane matchup for Solary. They've obviously locked the center Tahm Kench, very strong on the patch. It's going to be the case of, I mean, Rude, do they have the tools to kind of deal with this Ezreal Lacan, especially when we know that Hantera is going to be practically leaving at level 3 and never coming back?
I mean, you say deal with. I think they've got the tools to bully. Yes, I think Senna TK can be a very lethal dive presence, and an Ezreal, of course, probably one of the safer ADCs, but it's certainly not going to be easy by any means for Reckless to navigate that bot lane. Likely going to have to go forfeit a few waves or very, very nicely play some tower dives. I want to quickly touch on this Aurelia pick a little bit more. This is actually a very important pick. A very important game, and we'll wait until we get on into the game before we do that, because we gotta get on going for that one.
We're on to the Rift now for our third match of the day. Karmine Corp versus Solary. Solary obviously only picking up one victory so far in this split, looking to separate themselves from that 1-4, 1-5 pack now. Going down there by Team Oplon. They want to slightly get away from that Mirage as well. Separate themselves from that bottom of the pack, obviously. Don't want to be heading towards that relegation zone at the end of this split. Karmine Corp braving on, obviously reigning EU Masters champion, 4-1 now, only suffering one loss so far. See them quite often defaulting to this style where they just kind of rampage through teams. Obviously yesterday you saw them in their game. They did bring a victory, but it was at the cost of 1-1-3, having a bit of a struggle fest throughout the game. Obviously then later in the game, finding some crucial Baron steals at the kind of fated 0-5 Diego Baron steal that we saw unfold. Solary, what do they have to do in this game to kind of come up against Karmine Corp, dude?
weather the early game storm. We expect this top side of the map to be fairly scary for Kyo. I'm expecting some early plated steel caps because it's double AD mid or top jungle for Karmine Corp. The same for Solary, in fairness. So plated steel caps for our top laners certainly do have an increased amount of value. I'm hoping that Solary can keep that early game fairly tempered and that they can try and punish down on this bot side, get Azza, and steal back an advantage generated. What I'm going to do, Jake, I'm going to completely derail it and talk about Aurelia again, because this is a pick that could set up Karmine Corp for a very good season of red side if they are going to continue to if they continue to end up being on red side, because Aurelia, as an answer to Gnar, if they have a good game here, Cabo Shard removes Gnar as a blind pick option up against Karmine Corp, and Gnar is something that a lot of top laners feel comfortable on. And if they're fighting
engage here from Hantera, gets the flash out from Azza. Nice onto him as well. It's going to be a trade back stun onto Hantera. He has to flash and co. Steal back goes forward. A few more autos will do it. This is the early lane that we needed to see from Solary. Hantera has no flash here. He's going to be gone in a bit too aggressively there, and Solary take capital of it. They take advantage. They take the first blood.
Lovely stuff. This is exactly what we talked about coming in. The way Solary wins is through their bot lane. And that was Hantera going a little too far forward, not recognizing, not respecting the damage that a Senna Tahm Kench can do at level 1. Tahm Kench, a brutal duelist in these early levels, and they get punished for it. Hantera burns both summoners, still goes down. And with Reckless taking that teleport, the beneficiary of having an extra summoner spell to use for combat comes up to Solary.
113 taking slightly aggressive parking here. He has a 2+2 camp, so he goes on to Jocko. Trying to find him around this camp here. Has Smite, obviously. Jocko does as well. Got that 450 threshold on it. Who gets it? It's going to be Jocko who comes up big. See 113 benefiting from the aggression that he gets from this early lane prior from the Victor and the Aurelia. So they were able to get the waves in, especially Aurelia.
Seiken really having a good laning phase then here, because Scarlet shouldn't really be losing out on push priority as an early game against an early game Victor, but nevertheless Jocko has a pretty good bout of early game trades right there. The fact that he secures all of his topside camps, even though 113 tried to go in and invade, is actually very beneficial and certainly doesn't set him behind by any means. Actually sets 113 behind a little bit. He's going to be a little bit slower to take all of his camps, and it gives a little bit of momentum over to Jocko for the early stages. He can now go in, potentially put some wards down inside Karmine Corp's jungle and map the second clear of 113 if he elects to do so. So that's not going to be the case. Go back to the Krugs and secure yourself that full clear coming on through. But nevertheless, good start for Solary all told. That bot lane coming up huge, and nice dissuasion of plays on the top side.
It really is so beautiful to watch sometimes, man. All these Qs dancing around. You'll find maybe another Q here. Get onto Kiao here. Has the 5 stacks. That is the dangerous point for this champion. Whereby Kiao has to be a bit more careful. Obviously stacking up that Mega Gnar as well. Going to give him a little bit more safety. You have to be careful against the Blade Stress. Dangerous champ.
Yeah, the crucial thing about Aurelia, because we don't see her too much, is the way that she wins trades is by stacking up her passive on the minions. You get those by pressing Q on things consecutively. That's how you get your passive, or by landing abilities onto enemies. And when you hit 5 stacks, you get a little bit of attack speed. That attack speed is actually fairly beneficial to your trades. And with 113 here as well, this could be dangerous.
He is here. Kyo hasn't quite pinged into Mega Gnar here. He will get it here. 113 does flash forward. It's a flash and response. You see this attention being diverted towards the Karmine top side. Hantera has pinged that level 3 mark. This is where we expect him to leave home for the final time, never to return. The faithful prodigal son is Hantera, obviously suffering a slight mishap that we don't talk about, never to be mentioned again.
It's like when kids go off to university for the first time, and you know it's normally like, for most supports in the bot lane, it's like level 6 when they've got their ult, they'll leave home and the parents are a little bit worried, and in this case it's Reckless who's a little bit frightened, you know, comes back to bot lane and his support's gone, the kid's not there anymore. With Pantera, he just, you know, he leaves college he goes to college at like primary school age. And he's just, okay, like
level 3.
I'm gone.
He comes back with a lot of assists though, which is good.
He does. He comes back with a lot of life experience. That's true.
Life experience. I like that. That's good, Rude, dude. Well played there. Really connected
the metaphor on the head there, I know.
Speaking about whether Karmine Corp can connect further on this early game win condition they have, which is obviously they've gone for the Java and they want to be going for the gank. You normally trade down camps into the Viego. That is one of the, one of the nature of the matchup. On that flash now, onto the Gnar. Rather, the Gnar doesn't have flash, so expecting to see a reset in this top lane here. Obviously, Viego Now have set up that pink ward in the top lane, which is going to dissuade that slightly. I don't know how much longer that other site ward in the Tribush is going to last for, but Cabochon has to find a beneficial wave state to be able to act upon that.
Smite for Jocko, this should just be the crab secured very easily. Level 5 takes over. And we're getting to that point now where we're starting to see you either need to go for the Dragon roundabout now, or we're expecting those trades for Dragon for Herald to start to come through, with 113 walking with intention into the topside jungle. You can see that he's making his presence fairly well felt. I really like the timing on the last gank as well, just as Kyo needed to push in the wave, was there to respond towards the flash. And with the top camps, well, the Krugs are available, so I'll be interested to see where 113 ends up going toward, but it is that initial path down to the bot lane. Like I said, this is about your last window to go for the Dragon before you need to start turning your attention to the Herald for fear of it getting traded back on. So a little time frame now where we should expect to see 113 draw some attention from this bot lane and expect Hantera and Reckless to try and force the issue. But I think against Senna TK, trying to establish priority when they've already been given a kill may just not be possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a strange phenomenon I just wanted to touch on there that's quite funny, whereby 113 goes for like a really telegraphed gank, and then Jocko sort of just sits in the bush for about 20 seconds thinking he's not stupid enough to go on this on a ward, is he? But he gets played into the kind of dynamic of like, is he going to do it? Is he not? And he sort of loses out on a bit of tempo here, which now means that 113 is paired off with him in the bot side, and he's a little bit slow to this. It needed to be the case that Jocko was a bit faster on that, able to use his bot lane priority, translate that into Dragon, because you obviously know the one direction that 113 is going to be going on is towards his top side, trying to find that advantage. And we're getting to a point now where that window's not really been found, and I would have liked to have seen the tempo punished there, because 113 rather telegraphed in his pathing thus far. Vision set up from Solary, but this is good for Solary in general in terms of you've tapered, you've stapled down, you've weathered the storm rather, of what Karmine Corp as a team really want to do in this early game. They're actually up gold, I think is a big victory in of itself.
Yeah, tethering the storm is what happens when Karma Mantra W's the Forecast Janna. Weathering the storm is what Solary have managed to do here, and they've kept that early game fairly quiet, fairly low pace. They even managed to find that early kill in the level 1 exchange. Now, in terms of where our priorities have been laid between both junglers, 113, largely focused around this bot side for the last couple of minutes. It's allowed Jocko to go up to this top hold. Whether or not that gets finished off, we need to wait and see. Top prior from Kyo means that it is very likely to. You can see that with Scarlet being pushed in the mid lane, he's a little bit slower to make the roam. Forsaken more so just shadowing his jungler to make sure that he gets his raptors safely as opposed to securing anything else. And with that bot lane priority as well, Solary are actually able to stave off the likelihood of a Dragon attempt coming through. And they did just get this Rift Tower for free, but we'll have to see if they can, get away with anything else. It's also worth noting, Cabo just went for an all-in on top side and did not get away with it.
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial thing we didn't quite get to see that, but the flash being burned means that Yo's ticking down to his flash now. I wanted to talk about how, on red side, Karmine Corp kind of operating as a different team. I feel like their blue side setups, especially around objectives and in terms of getting out what they want from draft, is a lot more effective from them. Then being on red side, they often come up with new answers. We saw that in the BDS Academy game, which they rather famously won in rather scrupulous fashion, whereby BDS Academy threw the game. They find it difficult in a lot of these games to get through the early advantages in the same way they'd be able to get through on blue side in terms of how they set up the map. Definitely seeing that being the case against a weaker Solary team. I think a lot of that owes to the early mishap that occurred from Hantera, which meant that his ability to kind of be out on the map and renege upon those setup win conditions that 113 and co have. The inability to do that means that they've slowed down in tempo rather, and now engaged onto 113. Expect to see an ultimate maybe from Scarlet, but it's going to be the case he just walks out here. Diego is in tandem, but as I'm saying, their inability to set up on red side has been a concern for me in some of their games. And their one loss actually does come from that red side, and the other loss that they should have had would come from the red side as well. Somewhat of a worrying trend, but I'm expecting to see them still be able to bolster on forwards. It's not like they're at a deficit thus far, shall we say.
No, they are slowly losing out on these objectives, and I really like that you bring up these trends because it's something that we can look at, teams can look at, and everybody else can look at and go, oh, that's maybe somewhere to capitalize. The Dragon secured, though, here by Solary. This is the second objective that goes their way. And as far as, the late game scaling aspects go, right, Seiken and Reckless are going to be very good damage sources themselves. It's also worth noting that Azza is probably the only hard late game damage source that we're expecting from Solary. Obviously, Jocko on this Viego has, as we always mention, that late game Viego factor that you can never really account for, depending on how well you can find those initial resets. But now we get to see a bit more of Karmine Corp's staple spring split style. Get 3 people, dive top lane.
Yeah, this is a really good opening for them. It's the first time they've really been able to actively pressure out Kyo here since the early flash was burned. In response here, there's not really much being able to gain. It's not going to be the case of that. It's going to be the case of that Rift Herald comes down. Cabochard goes aggressive, has ultimate here.
Played.
Finds it here. Oh, has that flash though. Cabochard knows not to go for it. They do manage to zone him away from 2 waves here. I mean, a plate or 2, but the Rift Herald was spawned in the bot side. You do see the roam in from Scarlet as well. Whether or not they can find the dive here is going to be really crucial for Solary's response.
No TP for Cabochard, so this would be a 4v2, taking no TP either, and just merely zoning them off. I think the turret's probably going to live here. That final plate's so very difficult to try and take down, but a lot of plates being secured by the Solary bot lane. Gold in the right position for their win condition.
Yeah, completely. I think Solary come out well here in terms of they're going to be able to batter down that first turret in the bot lane, which I think enables what they want to do in the sense that they've drafted the center Tom Kench, very much throwing down the gauntlet of Azza and Steelback being the main focal points of this team. It's going to be something that comes soon, but in response, we look at what have Karmine Corp been able to achieve in the game. We spoke about how important it was for them just in the way that they like to play this style. It's often the fact that they just want to get that pressure in mid lane, rather solo, and then export it into the sides, and then enable Hantera to be able to go into this top side. It's going to be a red buff taken away here. Doesn't even have to smite here, doesn't actually have to smite. That's the benefit of them being out on the map a little bit quicker here.
And Jocko there really wisely, what you can do is see on the minimap. So he knew that red buff was up. He knew that it was being taken in the jungle. Or he knew that it was being taken in the bush. Just has some wise pathing there around the other side of the wall. You know, if you expect that red buff to be down, you know it's not there and not already being taken. You may walk a little bit more haphazardly in the face of the 1-1-3 Hantera duo combo. But just making sure that he takes the safe path, gets around nice. He doesn't have the team there to support and has to seed the red buff, which is, you know, all told, not the biggest consequence, but still something that I quite like to see. Good little adaptations, making sure that you're not giving over any advantages.
On to Hantera, not going to bear many fruits here. I think an important thing to note is look at Victor right now as he goes towards this Raptor camp. Part of the reason why he's on track for that 11-12 CS mark rather, is the fact that 113 is very comfortable playing this low econ style and just kind of giving away a lot of these camps. As Jocko, we see him on the bot side clearing out these wards. He is going to be met by 113 on that Gromp. But Seiken constantly just, you know, he's not exactly getting a massive lead from lane individually. It's more at the downside of his jungler. But it's still going to mean absolute dividends being paid forwards.
To the detriment of 113, and that's a trade that they're more than happy to give over. Seiken, time and time again, just comes out with these massive CS numbers. We saw it around the Rift Herald. When that first Herald got taken, Solary, you know, got that Rift Herald, and we saw Seiken cheat up toward that Raptor camp. It was so he could take them away from 113, sort of in his face, and quite willingly willing this Victor onto an early spike of that Hex.
Both got flash here, and ult. Diego is here to stop it, but Cabochard goes aggressively. And having such a massive lead, now it's about 47 CS leader with that zoning off the wave. It's not being able to acquiesce at all. Diego is in the top side though, and has caught. Sentinel has come out on the top side, but engaged in the mid lane from Hantera. Good from Scarlet. Kyo finds a return kill. Onto Cabo, and Diego's going to take that. We've seen that, but we've seen that Cabochard was going aggressively there. Trying to move his lead even further on forwards, but not able to do so. It's going to mean the Rift Herald is going to be taken by Diego as well.
You talk about quick fingers from Scarlet there. The escape on that flash and ulti all in the space of the time that it took Hantera to come over the wall and find that quickness engagement. Really good. Like I say, really good timing, really. From Scarlet, it's a 1 for nothing in terms of kills. It is a trade of the turrets. It's a trade of a turret for a Rift Herald, excuse me. Solary haven't secured their first turret of the game just yet. In exchange for that mid-tier 1 falling, largely off the back of Seiken permanently being able to push in waves. And then, of course, one slight commitment from Seiken and from the rest of Karmine Corp is enough to put down that tier 1 turret. So overall, a good little trade that Karmine Corp may be very well happy with. Alleviating a little bit of the pressure on the top side by Solary means Kyo gets himself his first kill, puts himself a little bit closer to that mythic item.
Nathan and Co. Hantera, it's an easy kill found onto Jocko here before the dragon.
Good.
Not great from Jocko there. I feel like you can't really move in there. You want to build up the priority through the mid lane first. When you see no one there, you just wait a second or so for that to be built up. 113 engages onto Kyo, has to wait for that E before he can use an ultimate or so. Sarah is off to the side though, so he has to be a little bit careful, but they are just going to take the dragon now. Cabochard's going to claim, because of the lane assignments, his top lane turret. We spoke about how that kill from Kyo would kind of levy up some advantages for them in the top side. It's not quite the case. That kill only been worth about 15 CS if you want to put it into quantitative data. That means that he's still down about 30 CS or so, around 600, 700 gold, even more so now, around about 1100 with that turret being taken. And Karmine Corp, they're not getting kills, but they're racking up such an advantage macro-wise with all the turrets being taken out in the hours. This means they can move up that vision line, now that they've got that dragon as well, take their chances on these objective setups and, you know, just really start to move Solary a bit further back in the game.
And this may be the most the most epitomized way of Solary losing to Karmine Corp that we could expect to see, where it is just map moves and being a simply better team at understanding League of Legends, because they found one kill and they turned it into a dragon and 2 turrets, where Solary have found 2 kills and haven't been able to do anything of the kind, right? They're always playing a little bit reactively to what Karmine Corp are putting down. Granted, they, you know, escaping out on ganks, and got to credit Scarlet for the way he navigated his way out from underneath the mid-tier 1 dive, but overall, Solary as a whole just haven't quite been that proactive enough team to start generating themselves leads, where Karmine Corp always sniffing around for the next advantage, looking for a little bit extra that they can secure for themselves. And you can see right now, 113 absolutely beelining it through the enemy jungle, just securing a very deep vision line. They have got complete control over this bot side, and that is allowing Seiken to push in solo versus Kyo. He's 2 levels up over the Gnar, and there's nothing really that the Gnar can do.
Engage from Njoko, tries to find it, but Seiken so much damage in return.
Yeah.
Around about 40% of the HP bar burned onto Kyo here. I just really think that I need to just back up your point here. This is exactly the kind of game state that Karmine Corp wants. They're just able to act upon what they wanted to do early. Seiken's just able to free scale up, benefits from the low economy style that 113 is playing. W from Azza doesn't quite land here. Counter engage could be found if Azza's not careful. Seiken puts out the W here, but he's just going to get the tier 2 and walk out. And there's not really any answers ever posited by Solary here. It's sort of Cabochard is able to just find whatever he wants on the top side with the massive advantage he has now, building that 2 items. That Corp going to do so much in his side lane exchanges. And they have to actually commit numbers towards these plays, but Solary just getting picked apart across the map.
And this is one of those games where at a certain point, Solary have to pull the trigger, and I'd honestly rather see them do it sooner rather than later, because this is the type of composition where the later you leave it, the worse it's going to get for you. It's going to become increasingly more difficult.
Not a good Herald.
To get
taken out by 113.
They're not even going to get this Herald charge right now. They're just everything that they try and do. This is the one proactive play that we've seen Solary try and make it stifled right in the face of them.
I think important to note that Rift Herald only came at the benefit of Cabochard dying in that 2 versus 1 in the top side. He navigates here, gets charmed. Kench is going to be coming and engaging him. He does flash out here, goes back in though, finds the ultimate. Blade searches in from Cabochard. It's a massive engage from 113. He's still in there, a lot of passive going. Healing is still out, Cabochard's not been found though. Seiken finds Jocko though. Ezreal comes, the gang is here, 113 and Co. Karmine Corp have found their team fight in the top side here. Bit of over-aggression from Solary means 3-4 kills now. Seiken on a killing spree, and Solary, if this was your time to go, it's a bullet that's been turned back on their own heads. Baron is primed now for Karmine Corp.
And with Victor, with Ezreal, and no contest, this is going to be easily taken by Karmine Corp. They've got the Gleaming Quill for a little bit of sustain from Hantera. 113, they may have to jockey a little bit of the aggro, but should be very easily taken down by the Karmine Corp members. A wonderful fight on this top side, and it looks good for Solary, right? They found this layering of CC. They've done so well to begin with, but a well-timed flash from Cabo just buys enough time, and with everybody caught inside that Cataclysm, it forced so many summoner spells. A double knockup comes through from Hantera. Beautiful re-engage to stop everything Solary were putting down, and Kyo TP's in as mini now, and by the time he turns Mega, his team have already been either killed or fled out to safety. Gets himself a nice double Gnar here, but with Seiken able to adequately space it, never really stood a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's crucial to really state how much Solary needs to really do something with these early advantages. You saw Hantera rather gracefully gift over that early kill to the center Calm Kench lane. Since then, no advantage is gained. They're actually at around about a 40 CS deficit, just even with that early advantage. And you consider the fact that Hantera plays his heavy roam style, although he's not done it massively this game, you'd still expect Jocko and the bot lane to be able to translate that into something, but no advantage is gained. They try and find over-aggression onto you, one member that you don't really want to find. Cabochard, 1-1-3 going to get stunned up here. Kyo's over the wall. Ultimate into the wall now. Kyo has found a lot of CC. That's going to be 1-1-3 getting found almost immediately. Seconds found the response onto Jocko. Teleport from Cabochard. Cabochard is in with the Blade Surge. Crown Kench is out with Senna in Co. Can they get out though? And Terra might find a stun here. He goes in with the quickness. He's on to steal back now. They find the quickness here. Cabochard E goes slightly wide here. Cabochard finds one. Reset. It's a massive stun over the wall. Saken's in though. With the flash, he gets charmed. It's a gravity field. And the gravity dawns upon Solary as 4 kills, sorry. Half bound for Team Karmine Corp. And it's just a misstep after misstep. For Team Solary, they can't put a foot right in this game.
Yeah, and they look for the aggressive engagement. They get 1-1-3, but it comes at the cost of all 4 members that are looking to deal damage. As a Scarlet, Jocko, Kyo all fall, and it's the Dragon now secured for Karmine Corp. This is a big engagement, and honestly, this is going to sound really weird, but in terms of the state of the game, I don't mind that from Solary. They lose out on 4 members, but the Baron doesn't get its most effective value here from Karmine Corp. They take down 1 turret in the bot side, and there's still 2 turrets outside the base. In terms of the way things could have gone and the way that things have developed, I think this overall is at the worst map state for Solary. Don't get me wrong, I want to reiterate this to make sure that we're not getting any biases out here. This is still very good for Karmine Corp. They are very well poised to take this game. And I think that just based off of that little sequence in its own right, I like the look from Solary to try and make that proactive play. It's a little bit different from what we saw from them earlier on. And they are most likely going to lose this game. But looking for them to pull the trigger, try and find a way back is a good sign at the very least.
Good sign. Well, unfortunately, the sign just says danger on it. And it says, threat of a nuclear bomb heading your way. 5-0 is taken with this Lichbane, Shadowflame, and Ludens. He's just going to be absolutely one-shotting. There isn't the MR available for the enemy team. There's quite literally, apart from not even a locket on Tom Kent, he has the Sunfire Aegis. There is no MR that I can see, unless I'm missing anything, rude dude, from Solary. They are going to get absolutely melted like a nuclear bomb in a hot oven.
Yeah. It is very scary to try and stand up to Sake in this game, and this is the beauty of being sole AP in a composition that building MR is so ineffective because there's 4 champions or 3 champions from Karmine Corp that deal physical damage. Cabo, dashing,
once again and now he's going in here, but hit the turret instead. Ezreal is in the mid lane pushing that in. Karmine Corp have options. Solary do not.
Yeah, their options are severely limited. Their options are kill Saken or lose. And even if they kill Saken, it does not secure a win. It simply ensures that they don't lose it there and then. I think that even if they do manage to take down this, hyper-fed mage in the mid lane, they've still got to deal with Reckless and Cabochard, who are 2 incredibly maneuverable champions that can deal so much damage and be such a threat in the backline and the front line wherever they end up going. It's so difficult to be able to focus every single member from Karmine Corp. We've got very good pick capabilities, and unless Kyo gets the gnarlty of all gnarlties into, lined up Heartbreaker, lined up Orb of Deception, lined up Dawning Shadow and Tom Kent's knockup, there's no real way to see Solary taking a team fight.
Yeah, really difficult. You can see Saken just absolutely no fear in the world. Has a rough idea of where Jocko is, but obviously could be a little bit closer. Doesn't have the flash available, but he's just able to walk around. A king in his own jungle, a king in the enemy jungle as well. It's very much a theme that we talked about earlier with those tier 1 turrets going down so early. It meant that AC were going to be able to push their advantage, push their weight further and further forward. And you almost feel as if Solary are being crushed under the weight of Karmine Corp right now, especially with Saken. An answer has to be found. Jocko gets engaged on here. This is not your jungle anymore, Jocko. Their ult does come out to help. Everfrost as well from Scarlet. Not going to mean anything. And Karmine Corp take their pickings of the jungle that they've reached 10 minutes in advance.
And that should just be complete setup around the Baron. Even if it wasn't previously, no jungler means that this complete topside control will be continually developed by Karmine Corp. They had 1 pink ward outside of the base, did Solary, and it just got cleared out. You can see that they're moving down to the bot side to try and make a play onto Saken, but He's not going to give them that opportunity. He's got about a minute left until his flash comes back up, and at that point, with flash plus Zhonya's, there's no real way I see Seiken being taken down. He's a level ahead of everybody in the game and several levels ahead of the majority of members on Solary. The game continually getting harder and harder, and we talked about the late game damage sources. It's mainly Azza, but Azza on our supports and half income really with the Senna, not necessarily set up to take the win.
Engage here. Scarlet goes in, finds onto 113. He's out though. Cabashard's in though. Blade Surge again onto Steelback. And all of them. He's got 5 stacks here. Scarlet goes low. Hantera tries to find any sort of a counter engage, but he's going to get charmed here. Stasis goes down. Jocko, can he find a reset? No, he can't. Reckless is on a killing spree. Hantera going to have W in a few seconds or so, but Karmine Corp on the base now, having found...
Use the wave.
Yo, here comes Cabashard. He goes wide. He's going to go quite low. Gold Drinker onto 3 procs and gives him a lot of HP. He's dancing in and out. Goes Seiken in, Stasis. This could be the shutdown they're looking for. Scarlet can't find the charm though. There's a flash out dominating his Seiken. Reckless, he's going to get another kill as well. Cabashard is found on the end there. And nothing can be found. Although slight missteps were found, we saw multiple Stasises come out that you thought would be able to be abused by Solary here. The M teleport from Reckless is going to mean this game has been all but said and done. But God, I'm getting a bit of motion sickness here. Is rather sickening result here from Solary, not able to find anything in any of these team fights, sort of just been on the back pedal since minute 1, it almost felt like. Karmine Corp coming through with a dominating fashion, 5-1 now for themselves, supplanting themselves in that pole 3 position. Great victory for them.
And it was just a wallet diff in the end of the day, right? Like that team fight, it wasn't clean by Karmine Corp by any means, but it was enough. They had the gold in the back pocket to supplement a couple of missed abilities, a couple of overextensions, like you say, gold drinker onto 3 and just being ahead by so many levels. Such a gold lead, such an XP lead, and everything really being in their favor. Karmine Corp never really looked like they were going to give that game up. And they didn't in the end, right? They got that good team fight. Solary, after a couple of nice attempts to try and close their way back into the game, unfortunately, those attempts were